The recipe for today is called Confetti Caramel Corn. Now we're not using regular popcorn, we're going to use Trix cereal. They say Trix are for kids, so hope you enjoy this recipe. It's kind of like caramel corn, but not. First step is to heat the oven to 300 degrees, so I need to go and do that. Okay, so while the oven is preheating, I'm going to measure out 7 cups of Trix cereal. So I hope I can remember when I count, and it just goes directly into a jelly roll pan. One, 2, 3, one got away there, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's 7 cups of confetti, the Trix that we have. Nice and colorful. Okay, while the oven is preheating, I'm going to mix brown sugar, margarine, and corn syrup in a saucepan. It says a 1.5 quart saucepan. So I will take 1/3 cup and pack it in there. Unless the recipe says not to pack, you always pack brown sugar. So I will pack this in. And level it off. That in there. 2 tablespoons of light corn syrup. There's light and dark, and it's just they have taken the color, the extra sugar out of it, the dark molasses stuff. I'm really getting to the end of this. I hope I'll have enough from this one. Maybe I can finish it off. Wow. Good to the last drop. And you will use your small measuring spoons for that. I had extra just in case I needed it. I didn't. And then it calls for a 1/3 cup. Yes, a 1/3 cup of butter. And that's an equivalent that I know off the top of my head. So I am just cutting this stick of butter. It's 2 tablespoons and 2/3 teaspoons is what it is. Excuse me. And then I'll turn this on to about medium so that this will heat up and cook. And a jelly roll pan is different from a cookie sheet because it has sides on it. And this is one that you can use to bake jelly roll cakes in it. There's a lot of different uses. You can bake cookies on it, and things can't fall off the sides. So that's why it's a nice pan for this particular recipe. So what I'm going to do is heat this mixture. It says over medium heat for about 3 minutes, stirring occasionally until the margarine and butter is melted. So that's all I'm going to do. Now we don't add the baking soda or the vanilla yet because we want this to cook down. We're going to make like a caramel syrup sauce to put on top of the Trix. And this is just like making caramel corn, except we aren't using popcorn, we're using Trix. So I will stir this a little bit. and let this margarine melt, and then we'll continue on. The butter is melted, and I'm going to stir it just a little bit more until it starts to boil. Once it starts to boil, then you don't stir it again, and you leave it boil for about 4 minutes, because you want this to cook down and cook off some of the liquid. So that's what's going to happen next. So it's just at the point where it's going to start boiling, and it says about 4 more minutes after it starts boiling. So, and when it boils, the bubbles break the surface, and I think it's just there. If you can see that, it's starting to boil. There, you can see that. Okay, now that is boiling. So I'll set my timer for 4 minutes, but I'm not going to leave it go without really checking it. And while that's boiling, it calls for 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. So I will measure this out. I think I'm getting to the bottom of my box here. Okay, there it is. So I have that ready, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Oh, it's doing a nice boil now. So keep these two separate in 2 separate dishes or containers. It says mixture will boil and turn golden brown, which is what you want it to do. And then as soon as that reaches that golden brown, I'll take it off the heat, add these 2 things, and the baking soda, it's not baking powder, but it's baking soda, will make this get real foamy. And then I will pour this onto the cereal, stir it around to coat it, and it goes in the oven to bake for 25 minutes. The oven is ready, so as soon as this is done boiling, I can put it all together and it will be ready to go into the oven. So we'll just give it a little wait here, a little time, and you see it's really boiling away, and it's starting to get a little bit thicker, a little more golden brown. So just make sure you set your timers on your ovens, and then you'll be ready when this is ready. Be ready for it when it's done. Hey, I have 3 seconds to go. Okay, that was 4 minutes. This is what the mixture looks like. So I'm taking it off the stove. I'm going to turn the burner off. And put in the vanilla and the baking soda, and it's getting foamy. If you can see that, it's nice and foamy. Now the next step is to pour this over the Trix mix. The Trix, it's not a mixture. So I'm going to drizzle it over, and then I'm going to try and toss it. Now be warned, this might make a mess. It won't want to stir the best in a pan, but we'll give it a good shot and see what happens. So you guys have to do the same thing and be real careful. Don't do this on top of the oven, on your stoves, because if you're going to make a mess, it's easier to clean off the countertops than it is off of the burners on your stove. Get all the good stuff here. There it goes. I'll pick this up and put it back in, and my counter's clean. And as it bakes, I'll stir it some more too. It's not all completely coated, but pretty close. So I'm going to pick up these, put them back in the pan, and then in the 25 minutes I'll stir several times to coat it, make it nice and thick, coated and covered. And I'll put this in the middle rack of the oven and set the timer for 25 minutes. And we'll go back and check that every so often and give it a stir. Timer's going off, and I have stirred this a couple times, so it's all coated, and we'll let this cool down, and then it has to pull away from the edges, but everything's coated. It looks really nice, and it will be a nice, kind of like pop caramel corn, but not quite.